The alien ship was dark and cold. Inside, there were long metal halls, thick shadows, and blinking red lights. Screams echoed from deep down the prison decks, mixed with the buzz of electric chains and the low growls of alien guards. Far above, the lower slave floors, near the center of the station, a heavy door burst open. A teenage girl ran out. Her bare feet slapped against the metal floor. Her skin was bruised and her long black hair stuck to her sweaty face. Her hands were locked in front of her with thick cuffs. Behind her, the alarm screamed through the station, followed by angry shouts in alien tongues. The girl was human, the last known human in the galaxy. Her name was Elara. She ran even though she had no plan. Her heart beat like a drum in her chest. The lights above her flickered, as if the ship itself was angry she had escaped. Alien soldiers in black armor poured into the halls, shouting, "Contain the Earth thing!" The Warlord gave direct orders. Elara dove into a side room. It was dark. And empty storage crates, old weapons, dust. She hid behind a large metal box and held her breath as the soldiers ran past. Her arms were shaking, not just from fear, but from the feeling inside her, a pressure. Like something hidden was waking up. Elara didn't know it yet. But something inside her was beginning to unlock. 10 years ago, Earth had sent a signal. Into deep space? A simple message: we are here. Come in peace. They expected to meet friends. Instead, the Drothok Empire arrived. The aliens destroyed Earth's defenses in one day. Cities burned. Skies turned red. The Drothok didn't come to talk. They came to conquer. They saw humans as weak, soft, and emotional, but they feared something they never spoke about. Elara didn't remember much of the invasion. She was just a child when it happened. Soldiers grabbed her. Her mother screamed. Her father fought back, and they shot him. In front of her, she never saw her mother again. She was taken far away into deep space. She grew up in a prison cell on an alien ship, trained to obey and forget who she was, but she never forgot. Now, 16, she had escaped. The lights in the room blinked again. She moved from crate to crate, listening closely. Somewhere far off, an explosion shook the walls. Then a voice came from a small speaker on the wall. Soft, crackly, human. "Elara," the voice said, "you have to keep moving. They're searching the upper decks. Go left when the next hall splits. We'll guide you from there." Her breath caught. It was a human voice. One she didn't know. "Who are you?" he whispered. "We're friends." The voice replied, "And you're more important than you know." Elara hesitated. Then she stood up and ran into the hallway again, in a control room high above the prison decks. An alien commander growled as he stared at the screens. "How? Did she escape?" he shouted. Beside him, a tall, thin alien in a white coat replied, "Sir, her DNA. It resists every control serum we gave her. She has full resistance to mind-binding and bioshock." "It's not natural," you said. "She was broken," the commander snapped. "Just a human child." The scientist looked afraid. "I was wrong. She's not broken. She's evolving." The commander turned away and activated a special call line. The screen flickered, and the face of Warlord Korgoth appeared, a beast-like alien with bone armor and eyes that glowed like hot metal. "She escaped," the commander said quickly. Korgoth's eyes narrowed. "The girl from Earth?" "Yes." "Warlord, we think. I think she's starting to remember who she is." Korgoth growled. "Kill her now." Elara ran through a hallway lit only by the red glow of warning lights. She passed empty cells, locked doors, and strange symbols. She didn't understand. Ahead, 2 alien guards blocked the path. They hadn't seen her yet. She ducked behind a wall and breathed hard. Her cuffs were heavy, but she still had her legs. Slowly, she bent down and picked up a metal rod from the floor, an old pipe. Her fingers tightened around it. Her father had once said, "When you're cornered, don't ask for help. Become the weapon." She jumped from the corner and slammed the pipe into the back of the first alien's head. The alien grunted and fell. The second one turned, raising his weapon to slow. She swung again. The pipe hit his jaw. He dropped. She breathed heavy, staring at what she had done. Inside her chest, something burned. Not fear power. She took the alien's ID card and ran through the door they had guarded. Meanwhile, it's deep in the engineering level. A small group of aliens watched her on stolen security feeds. They weren't Drothic. They were slaves too, part of the hidden resistance. She's stronger than the story said, one whispered. A leader stepped forward. Her bloodline goes back to the prime warriors of Earth. The Warlord made a mistake keeping her alive. Young alien asked, "Should we help her now?" The leader nodded. "She's ready." Elara stopped inside an empty chamber. The walls were full of strange machines, floating tools and surgical beds. This was the science lab. She stepped forward slowly, watching everything. On a screen nearby, a video started playing by itself. It was a recording, old and broken, but the face was human. Her mother Elara, the woman said. "If you see this, then you survived. Listen to me. They think you are weak, but you are the key. They put something in you, a code, memory locked by pain. One day you will remember. And when you do, they will fall." Elara stared at the screen, frozen. Her hands were shaking. "Mom!" Suddenly, alarms blared again. The door slammed shut behind her. Soldiers were coming. Elara turned, her eyes glowing faintly. Her heart no longer beat in fear. It beat like a war drum. The girl who had been caged, broken, and forgotten was done running, and in the shadows, the Warlord watched her image on the screen and whispered to himself, "She looks just like her mother. This time, I will finish the job." The alien scientist's hands were shaking. He stood alone in the cold, sterile lab. Tubes full of glowing liquid surrounded him. Monitors displayed strange symbols. But one thing was clear. The screen flashing red in front of him was showing something impossible. This can't be," he whispered. The blood sample belonged to Elara, the human girl who escaped last cycle. The DNA was mutating on its own, not from chemicals, not from surgery. It was rejecting every control serum injected by the Drothak. Empire? Mind-wipe drugs? Failed obedience chips? Burned out? Pain implants? Disconnected from her nervous system? She's fighting back, the alien muttered. But how? Behind him, a dark figure stepped out of the shadows. A black-armored Drothic soldier raised a weapon. "You've seen too much." The scientist turned, gasped, and was shot through the head. Elsewhere on the ship, Elara ran through the twisting lower tunnels. Her body ached, but her mind was sharper than ever. The voices on the hidden cum device in her ear, the secret resistance guided her. "You're close," said the voice. "There's a door ahead with the Drothak symbol. For Research Chamber B. That's where the files are. That's where your answers are." Elara stopped outside the tall metal door. She still held the alien ID card from earlier. "Ow." The lock clicked green. The door opened. Inside, the room was filled with dim blue lights. Strange machines lined the walls. Floating scanners moved like slow insects above surgical beds. Dozens of vials with glowing fluids were stored on metal racks. But her eyes locked on one thing, a large tank in the middle of the room. Inside it floated a small body, human. It was a child, frozen, preserved. Wires stuck into the back of its neck. Elara's breath caught. What? What is this? A new voice, calm and digital, spoke from the walls. "Welcome, Elara. Your arrival was predicted." The Warlord Korgoth stood in his private war chamber. Alien generals reported all over the ship, but he barely listened. He stared at a single image on the screen, Elara standing inside the lab, staring at the child. "Let her look," he said coldly. "It will break her." "But, Warlord," one general protested. "If she reaches the memory vault," I said, "let her look." Korgoth's voice was calm, but inside he burned with fear. The humans were supposed to be extinct, but Elara was more than a survivor. She was the result of a human experiment, a secret the Drothak tried to bury. Back in the lab, Elara moved closer to the floating child. It was a boy, maybe 7 years old. His eyes were closed. The skin on his arms was marked with symbols, human symbols. She looked to the side. A console blinked. She touched the surface. A video began to play. A human woman appeared, her mother. The recording was older than the last one. Her voice was soft but firm. Elara, if you've made it this far, then they failed to erase you. Listen carefully. You were born different. On purpose. We gave you something the Drothok can't control. A living firewall in your mind. A weapon. The video glitched, then continued. You were the last child born in the Terran resistance program. They took your memories, your strength, and your past. But it's still inside you, hidden, locked by pain. The screen went black. Elara's eyes filled with tears. She turned and looked at the tank again. They were experimenting on kids. She whispered, "We were projects." Behind her, something hissed. Ela spun, ready to fight. A large Drothak soldier charged into the room, swinging a glowing spear. She ducked and rolled to the side. Her cuffs sparked, then cracked open. The shock from the lab's scanner systems had damaged them. Elara grabbed a metal rod from the table and struck the alien's legs. He roared and swung again. She dodged. Her mind moved fast. Every strike, every block, it felt natural, like muscle memory. Then her body moved on its own. A quick jab to his throat, twisted the rod into his ribs, final kick to his knee. He had dropped. She stood over him, panting. "I don't know who I am," she said, "but I'm not your property." In the shadows above the room, a hidden drone recorded everything. Inside the Warlord's war chamber, the generals stared at the footage. "She fights like a trained warrior," one said. Korgoth was silent. Another added, "She's not human." "Any more?" Korgoth turned slowly. His voice was low. "She's not Drothak either. That makes her dangerous." Elara found a computer terminal and downloaded the data from the research logs. It included files labeled Project Ember, Neural, Lock, and Prime Seed. She didn't understand most of it, but she felt it in her bones. She was designed for something, not by aliens, by humans. Scientists, maybe even soldiers. And they put something inside her. A voice clicked on her earpiece again. "You need to move. They're sending hunters to your sector." "Why are they helping me?" Elara asked. The voice replied, "Because we believe in what Earth was, and because the Warlord fears you more than he fears anyone else." She ran as Elara moved deeper into the ship. Something began to change inside her. She could hear machines. Before they powered on, she felt the motion of guards walking behind. Thick walls, her wounds healed faster, her body remembered. How to fight techniques she didn't know she had, and her dreams that night when she finally stopped to rest. Inside, a hidden tunnel showed her memories she had never seen before. A white lab. A woman in a lab coat saying, "We're running out of time. If she survives, she could change the war." Her mother's voice whispering, "They can't control what they don't understand." And finally, the Warlord himself, standing over. "A crying child, your kind is over. You will kneel to me." Elara opened her eyes. She didn't cry. She clenched her fists. Then she whispered the first words in her native tongue she hadn't spoken in years. "Not me." The prison ship was on fire. Flames licked the lower decks. Smoke curled through the air vents. And in the center of the chaos, a barefoot girl sprinted through the destruction, her black hair flying behind. Her Elara didn't look back. She didn't need to. She could feel the soldiers closing in. The deep thud of armored boots echoed off the metal walls behind her. She turned a corner just as a plasma bolt slammed into the wall above her head, burning a smoking hole into the steel. They were trying to burn her alive. A second bolt flew past her shoulder. The heat singed her skin. She ducked into a side chamber and slammed her elbow into the emergency lock panel. The door sealed behind her with a hiss. She spun around fast, ready to fight. The room was dark, silent, empty. She leaned against the wall, breathing hard. Her arms were scraped, her leg bleeding. From a cut? but her hands didn't tremble. Not anymore. Not since she started remembering. Not since she realized they were afraid of her, far above the burning decks. Inside a black command center, Warlord Korgoth watched her from a floating screen. His generals stood behind him, nervous. She survives fire, one muttered. She's nothing but a girl, another said. She's lucky, that's all. Korgoth didn't speak. He simply raised one thick claw and pointed at the screen. It paused on Elara's face. She looks like her mother, he said coldly. But her eyes, those are her father's. Room went still. No one dared ask what he meant. Korgoth turned to his top hunter, a tall, spiked alien with silver eyes. Send in the flame drones, he said. Crush her or burn her. I want her body on a plate. Back in the dark room, Elara searched for an exit. Sparks fell from a broken ceiling vent. The heat outside was rising. The fire was moving fast. She turned on her stolen cum device. The same resistance voice came through. Calm, quiet. You're in Sector 9. You need to reach the core tunnel. It's the only path to safety now. Elara coughed. Why is the ship burning? We set the fire, the voice answered. It's your cover, but it won't last long. She nodded and grabbed a short metal rod from a supply bin. Not much, but better than nothing. Her fists alone had already taken down Drothak warriors. A steel pipe would feel like a sword. She pushed the next door open and stepped into smoke. The hall ahead was filled with wreckage. Flames danced across broken floor tiles. Pipes leaked steam. Sirens wailed above her. And through the smoke came a shape floating, spinning. Its legs clanged against the walls as it scanned the hall. Elara ducked behind a support beam. Holding her breath, the drone fired a burst of fire down the corridor, searching. Testing, she had seconds. She picked up a small metal shard from the ground, aimed carefully, then threw it clang. It hit the wall far behind the drone. The drone turned quickly. That's when she ran. She leaped forward, swung the pipe into the drone's side. Sparks exploded. The machine hissed and spun toward her, but she didn't stop. 1 hit, 2 hits, 3. The drone cracked, then exploded in a ball of smoke. She hit the floor, rolled, kept running. The Drothak security forces were furious. They stormed the burning decks in full armor, hunting her with scanners and rifles. Us, they shouted into their cums. Target is in Corridor 14, heading to Tunnel Core. But they were too late. Elara was already in the core tunnel. It was a wide tube-like path that ran through the center of the ship, built to transfer heavy cargo between sections. Now, it was her only chance of escape. She stepped onto the steel catwalk, below her endless fire. Above her, silence. She took a breath and ran, halfway across the tunnel. The floor shook violently. Metal beams cracked. A massive Drothak warrior dropped in from above. He was 7 feet tall, with glowing green armor and an axe bigger than Elara's. Whole body, he grinned. The Warlord sends his regards. Elara froze, staring at the axe. Then her grip tightened around the pipe. You'll have to send one back, she said. He charged. She dodged under his swing and jabbed his leg. The pipe bent. His armor was thick. He roared and kicked her across the tunnel. She hit the wall hard, nearly falling off the catwalk. He walked forward slowly. You're just a mistake, he growled. She stood back up, bruised and bloody, but still alive. Yeah, she said. Then why are you all so afraid of me? Swung again. She ducked, slid between his legs, grabbed the edge of the catwalk, and pulled herself under him. Her legs wrapped around a support beam as he turned in confusion. Then she reached up and shoved the bent pipe into the power vent in his back. Electricity exploded. The Drothak warrior screamed. Locked in place, then collapsed. Smoke rose from his armor. Elara pulled herself back up, breathing hard. Then she kept running. Back in the control room, Korgoth crushed a glass with his hand. Enough games. His generals waited for orders, but he didn't speak to them. Instead, he opened a hidden line. The screen blinked twice. A voice answered, deep, mechanical, ancient. What do you want, Korgoth? She's stronger than expected, Korgoth said. I need the arena ready. The voice laughed coldly. She will not survive the arena of bones. Korgoth's eyes narrowed. She doesn't have to survive. Just suffer. Elara reached the end of the core tunnel. The ship shook again. Emergency blasts, activating across the station. She stumbled through the final door and found herself in a hidden chamber. There were crates, old weapons, and broken armor. Among the wreckage, she found something strange. A human-made device. A memory box. Old tech. Burned but intact. She touched the surface. A voice played. It was her father. Elara. If you're hearing this, you've survived longer than any of us. You're not just our daughter. You're the last piece of a plan we never finished. They took everything, but they couldn't take your soul. She swallowed hard. Her past was returning, and her future was about to begin. Suddenly the floor dropped beneath her. She fell fast into darkness. Lights flashed. Metal bars slammed shut around her. She had been trapped. Above her, the screen turned on. Warlord Korgoth appeared. His voice thundered through the walls. Welcome to the arena of bones, little human. Let's see how long your fire lasts. The arena was silent. The floor was made of cracked bones and old bloodstains. High walls circled around her, lined with sharp black spikes. Above, the sky was a fake dome that showed a blood-red sun. It was a trap, a prison made for one thing. Only death. Elara stood alone in the center of it. Her body was bruised, her arms still bled. She had nothing but a short metal rod and her own strength. All around her, thousands of aliens sat in massive metal stands. Creatures of every kind, watching, laughing, screaming for blood. Then the speakers turned. A voice filled the arena. Do you know where you stand, child? It was him, Warlord Korgoth. His voice was smooth and cold, like ice dragging over skin. You. Stand in the place where your mother begged me to spare her. The crowd went quiet. Elara's heart froze. What? She whispered. The screen above her lit up. It showed a video. Old, dusty, shaky. It showed a human woman tied down. Bloodied, bruised. But her eyes burned like fire. Elara's mother. Her voice came through the speakers. You can kill me, she said to someone off-screen. But my daughter will never kneel to you. She will be your end. Then a large shadow stepped forward. Korgath. Was younger, but just as terrifying. His bone armor glowed under the lights. He grabbed her mother by the throat and lifted her. Off the floor, she didn't scream. She looked straight into the camera, right at Elara, and smiled. Then the video cut to black. Elara didn't move. She didn't breathe. The crowd above laughed and shouted cruel things in alien tongues. She stood still. Then a whisper came through her ear. The resistance channel. Elara. Are you there? She said nothing. Elara, don't listen to him. He's trying to break you. Still nothing. Then Elara slowly looked up. Her eyes were no longer full of pain. They were full of fire. I remember now, she whispered. She died for me. She raised the metal rod. And now I fight for her. Gates opened at the edge of the arena. Two large alien monsters charged forward. One had claws like swords. The other had thick armor across its chest and back. Their eyes glowed blue. Both twice her size, Elara didn't run. She ran toward them. The first monster slashed at her fast. She dropped low, rolled under the swing, and slammed her rod into its knee. The bone cracked. It screamed. The second one charged. Her from behind, she jumped onto the first monster's back and pushed off, flipping over the second one's head. Her foot hit its neck, staggered. She hit the ground and ran between them. Using their size against each other, they crashed into each other. She picked up a broken bone from the arena floor, sharp, curved like a blade, and stabbed it into the first monster's chest. It fell. The second one roared. She turned just as it grabbed her and threw her against the wall. Pain shot through her spine. She groaned but forced herself up. Blood ran down her forehead. Her arms shook, but she stood. The monster charged again. She ran straight at it at the last second. She slid under its legs, grabbed its tail, climbed its back like a wild animal. Then she drove the bone blade into the base of its skull. It fell, face first into the dirt, dead. The arena was silent again. Then the crowd erupted. Some cheered, some booed, many looked afraid. No human had ever survived the arena of bones before. Elara stood in the center, shoulders rising and falling with each breath. Her clothes were torn, her face bloody, but her grip on the weapon never shook above her. Screen flickered again. Korgoth appeared. "Well done, little creature," he said. "You fight like a beast." She looked up at him with cold eyes. "You killed my mother." He nodded. "Yes, and now you'll die in the same dirt." She raised the bone weapon and pointed at the screen. "No," she said. "You're next." Inside his war chamber, Korgoth's generals looked uneasy. "She's not breaking. She's getting stronger. She just killed 2 of the Warlord's personal gladiators." Korgoth slammed his fist on the table. The metal cracked. "She's just a child," he hissed. "No," said the alien scientist, standing beside him. "She's not. She's something else."
What do you mean? We scanned her DNA again. It's changing. It's reacting to memory, pain, anger. She's not evolving like an animal. She's activating.
Korgoth's eyes narrowed. "Explain." "Has the old codes from Earth's final defense project? Neural armor, combat reflexes, accelerated learning, emotional triggers." The scientist looked scared. "She's not just a girl. She's the last human weapon." Back in the arena, Elara collapsed to her knees in the dust. She had won, but barely. Suddenly, the floor beneath her opened. A cage rose up from below. Inside it was a figure, covered in armor, massive, silent. Breathing slowly, the crowd gasped. The speakers cracked again. "Meet my final gift to you," Korgoth said. "He is what your people feared most. A failed experiment. One of your own, twisted by our hand." The cage opened. The figure stepped out. It was human, but changed. Muscles too thick, eyes glowing red. Wires on his arms and back. Half machine. He didn't speak. He just raised his fists. Elara looked at him, shocked. The voice in her ear said, "Elara, be careful. It's a Terran berserker. They used to be ours." But the Drothak turned him into a puppet. She stared at him, then whispered, "I'll set him free." The Terran berserker stepped forward. Each step was heavy, shaking the bones on the arena floor. The red lights in his eyes blinked with every breath. His body was huge, covered in old scars and thick black wires. His fists were wrapped in metal plates. Looked like a monster built from a man. Ilara's heart pounded. He was human, at least he used to be. Now he was something else. Something made for killing above them. The crowd cheered louder than ever. Aliens shouted for blood. The giant screen showed Korgoth, smiling from his throne. "He does not know your name," the Warlord said, his voice booming. "He only knows orders, and I gave him one. Kill." The berserker's eyes flared red. He charged. Elara jumped out of the way just in time. His metal fist hit the ground with a sound like thunder. Dust flew. Bones cracked. She rolled across the floor and stood. Fast. He didn't slow down. He attacked again, swinging both fists like sledgehammers. Elara dodged left, then ducked under a spinning backhand. It was fast, too fast for his size. His strikes were wild but strong. She couldn't beat him in a straight fight. "Elara," came the voice from her earpiece. "That's Unit 09. We thought he died during Earth's last stand. He was captured, reprogrammed. You can't outfight him. Maybe you can reach him." "How?" she said out loud, breathing hard. "Talk to him. Might still be in there." The berserker charged again. Elara waited until the last moment, then rolled behind him. She didn't strike. She didn't run. She shouted, "Your name was Diran. You fought at the Battle of Europa. I read your name in the old files." The berserker hesitated for half a second, then roared and attacked again. Inside the control room, Korgoth leaned forward, eyes narrowing. "She knows his name." One of the generals looked nervous. What if she won't?" Korgoth growled, "His mind is gone. He's ours now." Back in the arena, Elara kept dodging, speaking between breaths. You were a soldier. You had a sister on Mars. You carried the last human flag when Earth fell. Berserker paused again. Just for a blink, then he grabbed Elara by the throat, lifted her off the ground. Her feet dangled. She clawed at his arm, struggling to breathe. His red eyes stared into hers, and for a moment, something changed. A flicker, a twitch in his hand. Then, deep in his chest, he growled one word. Mars. Elara gasped. Yes, you remember. He dropped her, stumbled back, clutched his head with both hands. His whole body began to shake. Wires sparked. Korgoth's voice boomed over the arena. Override, Unit 09, obey. Destroy her. But the Berserker didn't move. He dropped to his knees and roared in pain. Elara stood up, coughing hard. Then she walked forward slowly. You're not a monster, she said. You're human, like me. They stole your mind. But they didn't steal your soul. The red lights in his eyes began to fade, then turned blue. The crowd was silent. Then, chaos. Guards rushed forward from every gate. Drones flew in. Sirens blared. Korgoth was screaming orders, but no one could hear them. The arena was no longer under control. The resistance had hacked the system. Elara, said the voice in her ear, we've breached the arena's gates. Get to the south tunnel. We'll extract you both. Both. We want him to, if he's back. He's a living legend. Elara turned to the Berserker. Can you fight? She asked. He looked up, slowly stood, then gave a sharp nod. Together. They ran. Elara and the reborn warrior stormed through the arena's south gate, smashing through the guards. He tore apart drones with his bare hands. She moved like lightning, disabling control panels. And guiding them forward, explosions rocked the tunnels. The Adrothic were sending everything they had, but it wasn't enough. Elara was. No. Longer the girl who escaped in chains, she was something more. Now faster, smarter. Her strength didn't come from training. It came from pain, memory, and something hidden deep in her blood. She slid under a security door just before it closed, turned and helped the Berserker through. Together they dove into a vent system that led beneath the ship's central command. In the darkness, the Berserker spoke again. His voice was rough, broken. My name. Darren, is that right? Elara nodded. Yes, that's who you are. He looked at her, confused. How do you know all this? I think maybe I'm like you, she said softly. Built for war. I didn't know it until now. He looked at her more closely. You're not one of them, he said. She shook her head. I'm not even one of us, she replied. Not anymore. In the Warlord's throne room, Korgoth smashed the screens with his claws. She took him, he hissed. She's waking up, the alien scientist said. The fire inside her. It's different. Ancient. It's what we feared. Korgoth turned slowly. We have no choice, he said. What will you do? Asked a general. Korgoth's voice was low. Final. Activate the vault. Everyone in the room went silent. The vault was never supposed to open. It held the one thing even the Warlord couldn't control. But now, he would rather risk everything than let the girls survive. Elara and Duran reached a hidden supply room in the ship's lowest levels. Inside were resistance fighters, aliens, hybrids, even a few other humans in hiding. They had weapons, data packs, and one small ship ready for launch. When Elara stepped inside, everyone stared. One alien whispered, "That's her." Another added, "The skull shatterer." Darren stood beside her, breathing heavily, scanning. The room. Elara looked around. Unsure. One old human soldier stepped forward and saluted her. You're not a girl anymore, he said. You're the symbol we lost. You're the reason they're afraid. Elara said nothing for a moment. Then she looked down at her bloodied hands. I didn't want to be a weapon, she said, but now I see. Maybe it's the only way to stop them. The old soldier nodded. You're not one of us anymore. he said quietly. "You're something more." The Arena of Bones was supposed to break people. It was a place built by the Drothic Empire, where slaves, traitors, and enemies were thrown in to die. No one left the arena alive until now, because Elara didn't just survive it. She conquered it. The entire galaxy had heard about it by now. Videos of her standing over 2 alien champions and a mind-controlled Terran berserker had gone viral across every dark channel and rebel network. Her face was on every banned screen. They called her the Skull Shatterer. They whispered that Earth had returned, and the Drowic. They were panicking. Inside the deepest level of the warship, Warlord Korgoth stood in front of a thick, ancient door. His claws tapped against the lock. Beside him were 2 high-level alien priests, old, wrinkled, robed in black and silver. Their faces were tight with fear. "You swore you would never open this," one priest said. Korgoth growled. "I also swore Earth would never rise again." The door opened. Inside was the vault, the most secret part of the ship. It held the bones of the old war gods the Drothok had once worshipped, back when they feared things stronger than themselves. It held relics. And it held one thing no one had touched for 200 years. The bone engine. A living weapon, made from war beasts and machine minds. Korgoth stepped forward and reached for the switch. "If the girl thinks she's the future," said, "let her meet the past." Back in the rebel hideout, Elara paced the narrow metal room. A dozen freedom fighters waited silently around her. Aliens, old soldiers, rogue bots. They all watched her now like she was something more than human. Beside her, Darren, the once lost Terran berserker, sat sharpening a broken blade. His eyes were clear now, blue. His memories were returning piece by piece. The leader of the Resistance, a female alien with golden skin and glowing eyes, stood near the old maps of the warship. "You broke the arena," she said to Elara, "but the Warlord won't stop. He's unleashing something worse." Elara nodded slowly. "I'm not running," she said. "If we stop him here, we stop the whole Empire. It ends with me." Darren looked up. "You're sure?" Elara stared at her. "Hands. They made me into this. I didn't ask for it. I'm done hiding from what I am." She looked up at the group. "I'm going back into the arena." Minutes later, alarms exploded across the warship. Resistance fighters in small squads stormed out from hidden vents and tunnels. They hacked the lights, cut the gravity, fired homemade weapons. Drothak soldiers fell back in shock. In the middle of it all, Elara ran like fire through the halls, clearing a path back to the one place they never expected her to return, the Arena of Bones. Korgoth stood at the top platform, looking down at the arena as the bone engine was released. It was massive, a creature with 5 arms, each made of black metal and living bone. Its face had no eyes, only rows of teeth that never stopped grinding. Its chest glowed with red light, and each step made the ground shake. "Elara," Korgoth shouted. "You wanted to be remembered. Now you will be in pieces." The bone engine let out a deafening roar, and the gates opened. Elara stood alone on the cracked arena floor once again. But this time, who had been thrown in here to die. Her muscles were tighter, her reflexes faster, and her mind, now unlocked, saw things differently. She could feel the vibrations in the dirt. She could hear the rhythm of enemy footsteps behind walls. She could even sense Darren and the Resistance waiting nearby, just beyond the gate, ready to move. But this fight was hers alone. The bone engine charged forward. The first few minutes of the battle were brutal. The monster was huge and fast. Its bone blades swung like giant whips. Each attack left giant scars across the arena floor. One swipe slammed Elara into the wall. Another sent her flying into the dust. She coughed up blood, but didn't stop. She rolled, dodged, and climbed the creature's back. Her hands found weak spots in the armor, cracks in the bone. She stabbed into its spine with a stolen blade. It roared and shook her off, but she didn't fall. She launched herself off its shoulder and landed on a high platform below her. The arena was chaos. Explosions rang out from Resistance bombs placed under the seats. The Drothak generals screamed into cums, trying to escape, but they see, too, because now the rebels controlled the arena, and the girl they feared most had become the storm. Inside his control tower, Korgoth roared in rage. "She's just one girl." "She's a weapon," one general whispered. "No," said another. "She's the message." Korgoth turned and grabbed the nearest officer. "Send the ship's core, too." "Overload. We'll crash the entire station. If we burn, she burns too." Back in the arena, Elara saw the monster's chest beginning to glow hotter, a sign it was overcharging. Its core was about to explode. She didn't run. Instead, she jumped straight into its chest plate. She grabbed 2 glowing power cords and ripped them out. The bone engine froze. Sparks flew. It dropped to its knees, then collapsed, dead. The arena went silent, and then boom. The platform behind her exploded. Resistance fighters poured in. Darren ran toward her. "Elara, wah," he shouted, Korgoth's overloading the ship. She wiped blood from her mouth. "Then we finish this now." The warship was breaking apart. Alarms screamed through every corridor. Red lights flashed like heartbeats. Sparks exploded from walls. Gravity glitched. The whole ship shook like it was afraid. At the center of the storm stood a girl with blood on her face and steel in her eyes. Leia, no longer just a prisoner. No longer just a human now. She was something more, all across the Empire. They were calling her the Skull Shatterer, the human girl who shattered the Drothak champion's head, the one who escaped, survived, fought, and returned. One who killed monsters, the one who broke the arena, but now she was coming for the Warlord himself. "Get to the escape ships," shouted a Drothak officer. "She's heading for the command tower." Dozens of armored aliens ran through the burning halls. But they didn't run toward Elara. They ran away. Behind them, she walked through the smoke with Duran, the Terran berserker. At her side, he held a plasma cannon stolen from a dead guard. She carried nothing but a jagged blade and the fire of 10 billion dead humans in her heart. Darren looked at her. "This is it," he said. She nodded. No more cages. At the top of the warship, deep inside the command tower, Warlord Korgoth stood alone. He watched the screens flicker. One by one, his systems were failing. Power cells melting. Engines dying. His empire's pride, the unkillable flagship, was falling apart, all because of one girl. He walked to his throne and opened a hidden chamber. Inside was his final armor, a suit of black bone, curved metal, and crimson flame. Forged in the blood of the first human colony he ever destroyed, he strapped it on, piece by piece. "This ends where it began," he growled. Elara reached the final door. It was tall and ancient. It's carved with the skulls of fallen species. At its center was a scanner. She touched it. The scanner blinked red. Then, green dot, the door opened. Korgoth was waiting inside. He stood tall, almost 3 meters high in his war armor. His glowing axe rested on his shoulder. The floor under his feet was cracked from previous fights. He smiled. "You look like your mother," he said. Elara stepped in. Her voice was calm. "And you look smaller than I remember." The battle began fast. Korgoth swung his axe. A wave of red flame cut across the floor. Elara leaped into the air, rolled over his shoulder, and slashed his back. Sparks flew. He turned and roared, slamming his fist down. She dodged, kicked off the wall, landed a punch to his side. But it wasn't enough. He backhanded her across the room. She hit the wall hard. Coughing blood, he walked toward her, slow and deadly. "Do you know why I killed your mother last?" he said. "Because she made me afraid." Elara stood. "You should have stayed afraid." The fight raged on. Darren joined the battle, blasting. Korgoth with a plasma burst. The Warlord's armor cracked but didn't break. He grabbed Darren by the chest and threw him through a wall. Elara screamed and attacked. This time, she wasn't holding back. She moved faster than before, dodging, flipping, striking. Her blade cut into his shoulder, his neck, his side. Korgoth roared in rage. "You are a mistake." "No," she said. "I'm your ending." The final blow came fast. Elara leapt high into the air. Korgoth raised his axe, but she didn't dodge. She dove straight at him at the last second. She kicked the axe sideways, spun midair, and drove her blade straight into his chest, deep into the core of his armor. He gasped. Time froze. Then his body collapsed. Elara stood over him, bleeding, breathing, alive. The ship was shaking violently now. Darren crawled from the wreckage and looked up at her. "You did it?" She nodded. Then she turned to the main control screen. "Let's finish." Elara activated the ship's emergency broadcast channel. She sent a message across the galaxy. Message to every rebel, every slave, every forgotten colony. "This is Elara. The Drothek Warlord is dead. The warship is falling. We are rising. Earth lives. Humanity lives. You don't have to be afraid anymore." Her voice spread across space and sparked a fire that could not be put out. She and McDoran ran to the escape bay. A resistance shuttle was waiting. As the ship cracked apart behind them, they launched into space. Below them, the once feared warship exploded. The Drothak Empire was broken, and the Skull Shatterer rose into legend. The stars were silent. The warship was gone. Nothing left but broken metal and drifting fire. Across the galaxy, thousands of alien screens blinked with the same image. A girl with blood on her face and a burning world behind her. Elara, the one they called Skull Shatterer. The last daughter of Earth, the beginning of the end. But she didn't feel like a legend. She sat inside a small resistance shuttle, leaning against the wall, holding her side where Korgoth's axe had nearly torn her open. Her hands were shaking. Her heart was still racing. Beside her, Darren sat quietly, his machine-enhanced arms crossed. He didn't speak, neither did she. The stars outside the window felt too calm, too quiet. But the galaxy was about to change. On a nearby moon, in a hidden rebel outpost, dozens of alien leaders gathered around a single cracked screen. They watched Elara's final broadcast over and over again. They saw how she killed Korgoth. They saw how she fought in the arena of bones. They saw how she freed the berserker and united species that had once been enemies, and most of all, they saw hope. "She's the one," whispered a tall insectoid general. "The one we were waiting for." "She's more than that," said an old Martian hybrid. "She's Earth's answer to extinction." Silence fell. Then a small voice said what everyone was thinking. "She's the reckoning." The Drothik Empire was burning. Without Korgoth, their armies were in chaos. His generals turned on each other. Slave planets rose in rebellion. Old systems disconnected from the throne world. Pirate fleets attacked border colonies in one cycle. The Empire had begun to collapse, but the fight wasn't over. Not yet, because at the far edge of the galaxy, the Hydrothak Council still lived, and they were watching from a throne carved in black stone. The High Priest of Bone looked down at a blood-soaked floor. "They say a girl killed the Warlord," he said slowly. "That she speaks for Earth." Another priest leaned forward. "She cannot stand against all of us." "No," said the High Priest, but she lit a fire, and fire spreads. He turned to the shadows behind him. "Send the Bone Claws. Bring me her head." Elara awoke with a start. The shuttle had landed on a quiet moon. The sky above was gray and cold. A small rebel camp stood around her, hidden by rocky cliffs. Darren sat by a small fire, fixing his armor. He looked up. "You're awake?" Elara rubbed her eyes. Her whole body ached. "Where are we?" "A safe zone, for now." She sat beside him, silent for a long time, then whispered, "I didn't think I'd live." Darren nodded slowly. "You did more than live." She looked at her hands. "They made me into this," she said. "A fighter. A weapon." "No," he said. "They tried. But you made yourself into something else." She didn't answer. "Not yet. That night, messages poured into the rebel camp. Hundreds and thousands. Some were from alien captains, some from human survivors hiding across dead worlds, some from slaves, some from resistance leaders long thought dead. They all said the same thing. We saw what she did. We're ready. Give us the signal. Elara walked into the center of the war room. Every face turned toward her. She stared at the maps, at the list of colonies still suffering, at the red dots showing systems under Drothak control, and then she took a deep breath. Tell them, she said. Tell them the war has begun. Weeks passed. Rebel fleets struck hard and fast. Drothak ships were stolen. Outposts were destroyed. More soldiers joined the rebellion each day. The flame that Elara had lit in the arena was now a wildfire across stars. And then came the message, a Drothak broadcast, a warning, a challenge. Elara of Earth, the High Priest hissed on the screen. Come to us, or we will burn 10 planets for every day you hide. The camera zoomed out to show a human child in chains. Elara's hands curled into fists. Duran looked at her. You don't have to go alone, she said. The final mission began. A massive rebel fleet gathered near the dead star of Orses Prime. Elara stood at the front of the lead ship, armored in silver and black. Her mother's old resistance badge was stitched to her shoulder. Her father's voice chip hung around her neck. She looked out at the stars. Behind her, thousands waited. She raised her voice. They thought Earth was finished. They were wrong. They thought we were weak, forgot what we become when we have nothing left to lose. The fleet jumped to hyperspace, and the reckoning began. Elara dropped into the throne world with fire at her back. She landed on the main platform with Duran. Beside her, and an elite strike team at her command. Smoke rose from every crater. The Bone Claws rushed to meet them, pale monsters with jagged blades and dead eyes. Elara didn't slow down. She ran straight into the storm. The final battle was like a memory on fire. She fought like her mother once had, like every human who had ever died for freedom. She moved through the enemy like lightning, her blade glowing red. Darren fought beside her, unstoppable and brutal. The team behind them moved like a single force. They reached the High Priest's tower in the heart of the city, and there, it's on the highest floor, Elara met him. The last of the old empire. You should have died on Earth, the High Priest hissed. I did, Elara said. But something stronger was born in me. He attacked. She didn't back away, and in one final strike she shattered his staff, pierced his black heart, and ended the last god of bones. The throne world fell. The Drothak Empire was over. The galaxy was finally free. 1 week later, a small girl walked across a ruined street on a newly freed colony. She wore old boots and carried a stick. Like a sword, she stopped beside a broken wall and saw the painting. It was a mural painted in fire red and deep blue. It showed a girl standing in the arena of bones, with the stars behind her and flames at her feet. Above it were words written in human script. She was just a human girl, till she shattered an empire. The little girl smiled. She whispered the name, Elara.